about to enter a world few have seen. A place where men come together for one purpose, to fight.
When you fight with somebody, you see very deeply into them. It's like, this man I like.
When you fight, you feel alive.
It's an environment ruled by a code, and that code, to me, is love.
They call themselves the Dog Brothers, and for them, fighting is a way of life. Fight Club, no limits. Early on a Sunday morning in June, just outside Los Angeles, a few dozen men and women descend on a nondescript warehouse. Inside, a ritual is about to take place. Some have come to watch. A select few are here to participate. They are members of an unusual society called the Dog Brothers. They come together twice a year for an event called the Gathering of the Pack. This is the Crucible, where their skills as martial artists will be tested. Anyone is welcome to fight. But you must prove yourself in this arena to earn the title, Dog Brother.
I want to be able to fight. I want to be able to protect my family, protect myself, and protect my land, my property.
The fight is kind of a metaphor for life, you know. The fight is life. The fight is all that conflict, all that stuff that exists in your day-to-day world. You know, it's the opportunity to go out there and deal with that head on.
It takes you away from your day-to-day life, and it puts you almost in the realm of, I don't know, being a superhero, exercising these powers inside you that you normally don't get to use when you're pushing a pencil or commuting to work.
There is a vast diversity of fighters participating in a gathering of the pack. They span all age groups and come from all walks of life.
What do you do for a living?
I put tires on cars.
Fireman.
I'm a union thug. Telephone man.
I'm a senior payroll administrator.
I'm a massage therapist. I'm a kid's karate instructor.
I'm a research scientist for a tech startup in Vancouver.
They have all come to fight, but each is here for their own personal reasons. For Dan Farley, a bartender and part-time writer, this will be his first stick fight at a Dog Brothers gathering. He has always been afraid of violence and believes that by fighting here today, he will be able to confront and overcome his fears.
I'm not really fighting somebody else, or it's more like fighting myself, you know, because when you're afraid to do something, it's kind of, you know, that hesitation and that, oh, maybe I don't want to do this, you know, it's scary.
Corey Davis is a 48-year-old husband and father.
Thinking too much about what you're doing.
3 years ago, he blew out a disc in his spine and needed to have 3 vertebrae in his neck fused with a titanium plate. This will be Corey's first stick fight since the injury and the final stage of his recovery.
I want to perform like I have been. Am I going to be able to return to that state? Do I still have that? Do I still have what it takes to stand in front of a guy? I don't know.
Cisco Tarouk is a 30-year-old EMT from Long Beach, California. He's been fighting at these gatherings for years. Remarkably, he hates to fight and dreads every gathering.
These gatherings for me aren't fun. I mean, the first 2, it was just to test myself, see if I had, you know, the cojones to do it, and I did. And it's just really getting harder and harder because I'm not a fighter.
Like I'm gonna throw up.
While Cisco doesn't fully understand why he is compelled to fight here, cultural anthropologist Dr. Ventura Perez thinks it may be the byproduct of a modern society that has created the image of a mythic hero.
We live in a world right now, particularly in the United States, where Western masculinity is defined by intense violence in all forms of media. So you almost have an archetypal hero, if you will, that is an individual who is defined by how well he can beat the bad guy up.
Psychologist Dr. Michael Addis feels that tests of masculinity, like the gathering of the pack, are a direct result of the culture we live in.
Men in our culture and our society are under constant pressure to prove their masculinity. And physical prowess and physical strength and the ability to dominate other people is one of the ultimate tests of masculinity. And it's not a comfortable one. It's one that young boys grow up fearing and many adult men fear. But at the same time, they feel the pressure to prove themselves.
Dog Brother co-founder Mark Denny has been staging these fights for almost 20 years. He sees his organization, the Dog Brothers, as a necessary reaction to the softening of modern masculinity.
In our culture, manliness, male energy is under attack. Virtue consists in not having claws. We need to have a place where this side of male energy is celebrated, expressed, and grounded.
That place is a Dog Brothers gathering of the pack. It began in the 1980s when 3 martial arts students, Mark Crafty Dog Denny, Arlen Salty Dog Sanford, and Eric Top Dog Naus, got together in a forum without the rules and limitations of traditional martial arts tournaments.
In the 1980s, there was a lot of wonderful technical training, but people were not putting things to the test. We were the ones who wanted to make sure that our skills were real.
Eric and Mark had been training in Filipino stick fighting, but to see if their skills would translate in a real fight where there were no rules, they agreed to take their sparring to a new level.
What you really got to do is be able to move around and swing hard enough so that the other guy knows he will get hurt if he gets hit.
Angry people with bad intentions can often take quite a bit to stop. And the techniques and the combinations that you can do with a cooperative partner in training are different when you're trying to do them against someone who's really trying to go after you.
Mark and Eric started fighting after hours at the Inosanto Academy, a martial arts school in Los Angeles, with nothing more than thin fencing masks and leather gloves. The pair also attended martial arts tournaments, searching for like-minded fighters willing to join them.
I met Eric and Mark at a stick fighting week-half tournament in San Jose in 1988. One of the real padded up kind of things.
My term for it was the Michelin tire man. You have all this gear around you with, chest protectors, this and that, because again, that was the thinking that, God forbid, you get hit with a stick, that you would feel it, and then you get a bruise, and oh my God, who knows what would happen.
Afterwards, Eric came by and he says, "Have you ever thought about fighting without any gear?" And I was like, ooh, that sounds like fun.
In May of 1989, the group decided to take their philosophy to the next step. Mark, Arlen, and Eric, along with a few other fighters, met for a 3-day fight fest designed to push each of them to their limit.
Man, you almost had that neck crack.
That process of diving that deep into it again and again was very powerful. And that's when we started calling ourselves the Dog Brothers. I was reading a Conan the Barbarian comic book, and he was calling his band into battle, saying, "Come on, you Dog Brothers."
The next year, the Dog Brothers moved the fights to a small park in Hermosa Beach, California.
I was in the park in front of my house. We always made sure to keep people in the neighborhood comfortable. If we saw somebody looking nervous, we'd say, "Hi, we're just crazy, but we're not dangerous."
These gatherings began to draw large crowds of onlookers who didn't know what to make of the Dog Brothers' raw fighting style.
Everybody first went, like that, and just shock. And then the next incident was like, whoa, like that. you know, as soon as the first people were like, everyone was just like buzzed. The whole place buzzed. Have you seen these wacky stick fighting guys? They're crazy, but you gotta check them out.
In 1994, the Dog Brothers released their first martial arts video, spreading their techniques and philosophies far beyond the park.
People hadn't quite seen anything like this, and word of mouth spread, and things just gradually grew.
We started getting calls from like all over the place. It's like a local band that suddenly went national.
Coming up, Corey Davis tests his limits and the dangers of full contact stick fighting. The Dog Brothers organization has grown to include nearly 70 members. The gathering of the pack now attracts up to 40 fighters from around the world and an audience of over 200 spectators. From their earliest days in the park, co-founding member and tribe elder Mark Denny opens every gathering with a few words to set the tone for the event.
Everybody in. The ceremony is about to begin. No judges, no referees, no trophies. One rule only. Be friends at the end of the day. Our goal is that everyone leaves with the IQ with which he came. However, only you are responsible for you, so protect yourself at all times. No suing no one for no reason, for nothing, no how, no way. That applies to each and every person in this room. So, all right, guys, so back to the fight staging area, and
As the fighters head to the staging area, nerves start to kick in. Something Mark Denny calls chatter. That voice inside each fighter's head, warning them of the danger to come. For Corey Davis, the danger is that he may seriously hurt his neck again. But his daughter is by his side, giving him support.
I love it. It's good for him. It makes him feel like stronger, more powerful. I mean, he's getting older, he's breaking down, and it makes him feel like he's still successful. He's still a good, hard-working, strong guy who can protect his family.
Corey and his family live outside Sacramento, California. He is a corrections officer and has always led an active life. He sees himself as a strong, capable provider for his family. But after his surgery, his identity was in question.
A lot of my identity was caught up in, prior to my injury, was caught up in being strong, being capable, being a dog brother, being a member of the tribe.
Although he could seriously injure himself further, Corey's wife supports his decision to fight.
When he comes home from a fight and he's showing me his wounds and his stick hickeys, and he's all excited and glowing about this fight that he was in, and he's able to hold his own, and he learned so much, I feel really proud of him.
Pounding on the stalls and walking around.
You know, if he had to be confined to doing, staying home and mowing the lawn and painting the house, I'd lose him. He needs more than that.
For Cisco Taruk, this is the worst part of a gathering, the long wait before he can get the first fight out of the way.
Man, you just, at least for myself, you just get so nerve-wracking. My mind is everywhere, and it's just tough.
Dan Farley meditates by himself, trying to quiet the doubts he is feeling.
There's a certain sense of logic that says, you're gonna get hurt. Don't go out there and do this. You're putting yourself in harm's way.
Although Mark Denny maintains this event has no judges and no referees, there is a very clear structure to a gathering of the pack. The first step of this rite of passage is picking a partner. No fights are arranged in advance. Instead, fighters size each other up and then offer an invitation.
Choosing an opponent in a fight it's kind of like a dance. You have to walk up to someone and ask them, would you like to fight? Oh, yes, of course.
You fighting? Yeah. Want to go in later?
Yeah. Do you have sticks lined up, or do you want to go with a stick later? Or...
Fighting today?
Yep.
Oh, right on.
Yeah.
Deal, man.
It should be fun. It's my first, so.
you would literally look at someone and be like, hey, you know, would you like to fight? I mean, it was that same kind of, oh, are they going to turn me down?
Once a partner is found, the fighters choose their weapons. As long as they agree, almost anything goes. From traditional weapons like nunchucks to more offbeat choices like garden hoses and bullwhips.
People can use any kind of weapon that they can find someone willing to go against it. That's just the fighters work it out amongst themselves.
Another popular weapon with the fighters is a knife. Normally, harmless plastic and wooden knives are used. While this prevents injury, some felt it lacked the realism of an actual knife fight. Today, the stakes are raised. The fighters use shock knives, developed to train law enforcement and the military. The shock knife delivers a 7,500-volt charge with each strike. Corey Davis decides that a knife fight is a safer first step back onto the mat. Although realistic, there is usually less contact in these fights. Corey passes his first test. He's one step closer to achieving his goal, but he still has a stick fight in his future.
It was a very real experience. It's fun. It burns too. I mean, it's hot.
The majority of fights use heavy 30-inch rattan sticks. And this, like everything else about the Dog Brothers, has a deeper meaning for Denny.
The first words of our first series was, this is this. It's not a sword, not a magic wand, it's a stick. There's a certain primal honesty to it. Probably the first weapon, the first tool that we picked up since we fell out of the trees.
Thin fencing masks are worn to protect the face.
They protect the nose, they protect the teeth, usually.
I mean, when you get clocked with one of those sticks, there's really not much going on with the mask.
But no matter how civilized they make it sound, a gathering is dangerous and people get hurt.
You contact your doctor in the morning, something like that. You're not going to be fighting probably the rest of the day. I don't know. Okay.
Every match has the potential for serious injury. I break a bone at least every year. You know, usually it's a small bone or something. You know, I mean, there are concussions. Usually break fingers, toes, crack elbows, shins. I think that's part of the fun of it.
Although stick fighting may look more dangerous than boxing, wrestling, or mixed martial arts, there has never been a major injury or fatality associated with a fight at the gathering. Worldwide, boxing recorded 3 deaths in 2007 alone. Jim Anderson is an EMT who volunteers his services to keep the fighters safe. Today, he will treat a variety of injuries that are common at these events.
Right now, we're basically mild laceration, a couple of shoulder injuries. You usually see a hand or an elbow upside the head, but we got some protection here, so.
Mark Denny knows how dangerous a gathering can be and believes that risking injury is essential to a Dog Brothers fight.
Looking good now. You're looking really good.
Well, there's this moth and flame kind of a dance because it's not safe. It isn't. And if we were to make it truly safe, it would lose its value.
That's all it takes to get that much blood. Doesn't take a lot to get a lot of blood from this. Tonight, are you?
There must be risk, there must be danger, there must be consequences if you mess up for the experience to have meaning.
Coming up, inside a garage fight club. Midday at the Dog Brothers Gathering of the Pack, and the fighting is underway. The bouts are brief, most lasting less than 3 minutes. When the fight ends, there are no winners and no losers, only brothers. That's because the gathering of the pack is different from most sanctioned fighting events, and that's exactly how the founding members wanted it. The biggest difference is that the Dog Brothers have rejected the strict hierarchy found in the world of traditional martial arts, the belt system, and fighting for status and rank. From the very beginning, they have played by their own rules.
No judges, no referees, no trophies. No judges means that you're not submitting yourself to the judgment of others. No referees means you're responsible for your behavior while you're out there. No trophies, you're not doing it for the praise of the crowd.
That is really kind of core to the experience. And it just came out naturally because if you start keeping score and hand up trophies and stuff like that, there's this hierarchy, and that really wasn't the point.
That's it.
And we just kind of decided that we just wanted to take all that away so that when you were fighting, you were just fighting.
The value of that is having done it, not having won a prize at the end or having been declared a winner, but having done it and have survived and go on to fight another day.
Nice movement, you guys, nice movement. Yoo-hoo.
While there are no official rules to a fight, a strict code is adhered to by every fighter. They are responsible for their own safety. Fighters can stop the bouts at any time for any reason by raising a hand or just tapping the opponent to let them know they've had enough.
The goal is that no one spends the night in the hospital. The goal is that everyone leaves with the IQ with which he came. So if you hit somebody and you drop him, that's fair. But if he's stunned and not able to defend himself, and then you tee off on his IQ, then there are going to be people there who are going to put you right.
Sometimes the crowd is part of the process, shouting out to let a fighter know they are overstepping the boundaries.
For this kind of fighting to work, you must remain responsible for what you're doing. So you cannot just say, "Ah," and go into this bonsai killer state, confident that the referee will pull you off when it's time. Because in a stick fight, you can cave somebody's head in far faster than a referee can get in. A stick fight can go very wrong very fast.
Unlike the bouts one sees at an ultimate fighting event or at a barroom brawl, the men here are not enemies.
It's as if we are members of the same tribe preparing each other to stand together to defend our land, women, and children. So if I go too hard on you and I break you, then the tribe is weaker when it comes time to stand together. And if I go too soft on you, and you're not seasoned and is toughened to the level of which you're capable, then there too, the tribe is not as strong as it could be.
What you're doing is not trying to beat somebody down. You are trying to help each other. You're trying to advance each other. It doesn't matter who wins or loses.
Many of the Dog Brothers view the world as an increasingly dangerous place and see this as a training ground for the violent confrontations they see as inevitable.
We're preparing ourselves for something here. You know, we're definitely getting ready for what may come in the crazy world we live in.
Like many cultures, the United States has gone through periods of violence. According to UC Irvine psychology professor Ray Navaco, violence is an intrinsic part of our cultural and national heritage.
We're in a society that values freedom and liberty, and aggression is very much part of freedom and liberty. Our nation state was constructed from a revolution.
Mark Denny believes man's aggressive nature has a positive role to play within our society.
Healthy male energy very much includes the protector. We defend our country, we defend our family, we defend our women, our children.
But with each war, the line between protector and aggressor changes.
Depending on your perspective in history, violence is either good or bad. During the course of the Revolutionary War, we saw violence as very good. During the course of the Vietnam War, we began to question whether or not that violence was appropriate.
As violence became less acceptable in Western society, certain members of the Dog Brothers felt their basic manhood was under attack, and they needed to reclaim it.
You know, fighting is what fathers would teach their sons. They passed on these combative arts to help protect the society. That was man's job. So now we're kind of stuck in these larger, stronger bodies, and we don't really know what to do with them anymore.
Psychologist Michael Addis doesn't believe that man needs these kinds of violent outlets to purge built-up frustrations.
You know, there's this myth that's been around for a long time in popular culture, and we call it the catharsis myth. And it's the idea that individuals, and in particular men, have a sort of deep-seated aggressive drive that needs to come out in quote-unquote healthy ways, or it'll come out in more destructive ways. But in fact, we know from decades of psychological research that that's not true. In fact, it's quite the opposite. When people behave aggressively or violently, it doesn't go away. In fact, it makes that kind of behavior more likely in the future.
Before starting the Dog Brothers, Mark Denny was a practicing attorney and is well read in the subject of philosophy.
Once we understand that aggression is an instinct, and if you don't give it a suitable expression and outlet and guidance, it's going to build up until something in us is there'll be a moment of road rage.
One of the believers of Denny's theories on aggression release is dog brother Gintz Klimanis, a computer programmer who designs children's educational toys.
In order basically to work in a honeycomb of cubes, you kind of have to take a lot of your normal personality and just suppress it completely. I mean, you're sitting there, you have to be part of a team. You know, the whole entire workplace has been sanitized. You can't say this, you can't touch that, you can't move that. That whole lifestyle is basically just sitting on your ass. I think that's just bad, so this is my outlet.
Before he found the Dog Brothers, Gintz took his office angst to the garage and started his own fight club.
I know some people play cards in the garage and we fight.
At first, it was a few friends from his martial arts class. Then word spread and the curious began to arrive.
Most of the people kind of came to the club through work associations. Those are the people that you see the most often, so maybe you talk about it and they tell some friends, and eventually someone wants to try it.
Let's get on, go!
The fights became a regular event in Gintz's garage and attracted other cubicle-bound computer engineers who found an outlet for their aggression and a camaraderie with their fellow fighters.
It's not often that adult males make friends, and I didn't come to Fight Club thinking I would make friends, but what I got were brothers.
Gintz travels 350 miles south twice a year to participate in the gathering of the pack. Today, he already has a bout lined up with Cisco Tarut. This is an important fight for Cisco. By facing Gintz, Cisco is hoping to prove that he is worthy of the title Dog Brother.
I don't know if it's this one or if I would have to do another one or 3 more, but I think I'm on the cusp of Girl Mark making me a full Dog Brother. So it would be nice to accomplish that.
All right, Corey.
Fighter Corey Davis also has something to accomplish today. After surviving his knife fight, Corey moves on to a full contact stick fight for his second bout. When it's over, he jumps onto the mat again, feeling better than he has in years.
The third fight went fairly well. I enjoyed it, and by the time I was done, I really felt like I was back. At that point, I was looking for anybody who would fight me, and so if anybody caught my eye, I'd challenge them.
No grabbing, you're gonna go to the ground. I'm doing the whole deal today. I don't know.
Coming up, Corey Davis finds a fighter who will test his limits. And Dan Farley challenges fear for his first fight. The Dog Brothers are more than a fight club. They are a brotherhood of warriors who compare themselves to a tribe. And this gathering of the pack acts as an initiation into the tribe. Anyone can fight at a gathering, but how a fighter behaves at one of these events determines if he will be accepted into the brotherhood. Dogs are expected to fight with honor, and for those who do, this is a deep bonding experience they don't find in their ordinary lives.
There are not many moments in your life where you really feel 100% alive. But when you fight, you feel alive.
You get no trophy, no shiny little medal to hang around your neck. What you do get is this friendship. I mean, as silly as it sounds, there's no better way to make a friend than hitting them in the face.
Psychologist Dr. Michael Addis believes that events like the gathering are a symptom of the society we live in, where violent interactions between men is considered normal.
We're raised in a violent and aggressive culture in which these sorts of practices are all around us. Video games, sports, the ultimate fighting championships. And they provide contexts in which men can come together. What we don't have as often are contexts where young boys and men can interact and communicate and establish a sort of intimacy that isn't based on competition and dominance.
But what sets the Dog Brothers apart from other physical contests and male bonding pursuits is that the gatherings are not competitions between fighters. According to Denny, each match is a personal battle.
It's really about testing yourself, preparing yourself, and strengthening yourself in your warrior spirit.
That was some very technical stuff going on in there, both of you.
And in that sense, it doesn't really matter who won or lost. If you expressed yourself well, then you have progressed.
This progression takes a fighter through 3 distinct levels that indicate their standing within the Dog Brothers tribe.
First level is one becomes a member of the tribe, a dog. The guy's name's John. If once accepted into the tribe, he is Dog John. And then when someone is starting to really realize their potential, they become a candidate dog brother.
I'm a candidate dog brother right now. My name is Candidate Dog Pound. And it's all kind of stupid and silly, and it's a lot like a bunch of junior high school kids in a fort giving each other stupid names and secret handshakes. But for reasons that I really have a hard time articulating, it is important to me, and it's something I'm very proud of to have been ranked as I have been.
After a candidate has fought in at least 3 gatherings, the Council of Elders decides whether or not to make the candidate a full dog brother with his own dog name.
That's not only physical, but there also needs to be a sense of resonance with his qualities as a man, as a human being. We need to like hanging out with him. A guy could be a great fighter, but if we think he's a butt, then, well, not interested.
Out of the hundreds of fighters who have fought at gatherings, only 30 have been recognized as full Dog Brothers.
The Marines are the few and the proud. Dog Brothers are even fewer.
At the top of the pack are the elder dogs, Mark, Arlen, and Eric. These 3 men don't fight at a gathering. They are here as a guiding force for the junior members of the tribe.
Fighters, listen up. I'd like to encourage you to try to fight as if you wanted to live through the fight.
Mark takes his role as tribe elder even further by training younger members like Dan Farley.
Okay, well, that's perfect. Here, come out with me. Watch your right leg.
Going into his second gathering, Dan Farley is at the bottom of the pack. He likes the idea of belonging to a group where there are set social boundaries.
I think the pack mentality is really good for people. Some people. I happen to fit in really well in a pack, you know. I'm okay with pecking orders and all of that stuff, and you know, it's to me, it's just a comfortable place.
The decision to participate at a gathering wasn't an easy one for Dan. Throughout his life, he has always been afraid to fight.
When I was younger and I hung out with guys who were the bigger, tougher guys who had the reputation, I wanted to be them, you know, and oftentimes I just wasn't. I was younger, smaller, skinnier, whatever, you know. And the older I got, I was kind of like, you know, I just developed on a different path. So fear kind of dominated a certain part of me.
Back at the gathering, the moment of truth has come, and Dan steps onto the mat for his first fight of the day. He does not know his opponent and has no idea what to expect in this fight. Dan's fight ends in a compromised position, but his training with Denny has paid off, enabling him to hold his own against a more experienced fighter.
I think I was a little hyper with some of the stuff I wanted to use, so kind of probably should have chilled out a little bit more, but some stuff worked, and other stuff will work later, so it's good. The next one's going to be even better.
Cisco Taruk also trains with Denny. He is a significant step ahead of Dan within the pack. He has fought in 4 gatherings and has risen to the rank of candidate Dog Brothers. Cisco has paired off with Gintz Klimanis, but his fight won't come up for almost an hour. He's trained hard for this fight, but right now, all he can do is watch Gintz take down one opponent after another. Coming up, Dan's fight goes horribly wrong. And Cisco finally faces off against Gintz. Towards the end of the day, the gathering of the pack picks up steam. Most fighters have already paired off on the mat at least once. Nerves have settled down, and the intensity of the fights increases. Corey Davis has already been in 3 fights, and any concerns he had about his neck injury or getting hurt again has vanished.
I want one more fight, at least one more fight before I end the day. I'm feeling really good, I'm feeling dialed in, and I need one more fight just to really confirm that I am back.
Corey finally finds another fight. At close to 300 pounds, he has always been a feared opponent, and today, he seems unstoppable. Two hard years of physical therapy and psychological doubt end in this one moment.
I'm there. I'm back. It's 2 years ago now. I'm feeling as good or better than I felt prior to the injury. Yeah, that's just a huge deal.
Fellow fighter Dan Farley is feeling good. His first fight at this gathering has gone well, and he is eager to fight again.
I go out there, Crafty and I kind of walk past each other, and he says, "How do you feel?" I say, "I feel good. This is going to be a good fight." And he kind of looks at me and says, he can tell I'm more relaxed. He says, "Okay, you know."
Up the rendezvous song. There it is. There it is. There it is. There it is. There it, oh, stop. All right, very good. Give us
I timed a good side kick and a headshot, and that's when he went down. And as he went down, there's always that thought of, this is a heavy stick. What if he doesn't get up, or what if this is serious, you know?
Dan's entire fight lasts just 18 seconds. And the anxiety he felt about getting hurt has been replaced with the reality that he has seriously injured another fighter.
All of us think, I think, on a certain level in these fights, what if someday somebody really gets hurt, or doesn't get up or something. And when someone's on the ground, you don't know at that moment if they're going to get up, you know. It's just so, I mean, this guy was really tough. he had a head like a bowling ball, you know, so I was able to connect with a decent shot, and he just got right up and walked it off, you know.
Good, man. It scared me, dude. It really scared me from it.
After drawing blood in his second fight, Dan calls it a day. Finally, after waiting for almost 2 hours, Cisco's moment of truth has come. Cisco uses the techniques he's learned with Denny and holds his own with Gintz. Delivers a crushing blow and drops Cisco to the mat.
all right? By the way,
I will be.
Gintz respects what Cisco has achieved and believes even this fight will help him grow as a man.
I think you only know about yourself when you kind of push all the limits, the depths and the heights of what you can experience. And just being able to survive that leads to a calmer life.
It was a nice fight until you dropped me. It was a good fight there.
All right, fighters, come on out, everybody.
Gatherings usually conclude with an initiation ceremony, welcoming new dogs into the pack.
All right, here we go.
Those who have been made full dog brother are given a dog name.
By the powers vested in us by us. Boy dog. Boy dog. Boy dog.
Oh, that's right. Here's Dan Farley. There he is.
Yeah.
New fighters like Dan, who have impressed the elders, are deemed dogs and begin their journey toward full brotherhood.
That came out of nowhere. I wasn't expecting to get dogged at all. And that was something that was, that was definitely the kind of like the cap at the end of the day, you know?
Cisco's injury prevented him from being at the ceremony, but his fight was not forgotten.
We made dog brother. Everybody was totally in a full agreement on that.
It's been a long road for Cisco, but achieving this intangible title has been worth it.
It's kind of weird because it's not like you can carry that into any place. And so it's kind of personal, you know, it's not like you graduated from high school, show your diploma, graduated from college, show your degree. It's for yourself. You did something that's, especially for a guy like me, that's really difficult and hard, and you were able to do it.
I feel so much better against
No one beats everyone all the time. So be not humble, be not proud, respect others as you respect yourself.
Whatever the outcome, these men have faced their fears and will continue to push the limits in every aspect of their lives.
I'm going to fight until I can't fight.
Man isn't supposed to live the life of an orchid. An element of danger in our life where it brings out the best in us.
You feel a certain, you've achieved something and you've validated your training, and there is definitely a confidence factor that comes with it.